You already know what time it is. It's time for night class. Good evening, everybody. Coast to coast, shore to shore, all around the world. My, so many of you in here already waiting for class tonight. It's good to see you. I'm glad you can see me, and I pray that your day has been well and that you've enjoyed life. Life is a gift every day that we wake up. It is a gift. We have so much to talk about tonight. I'm going to begin my monologue in about 15 minutes. Before I do that, I'm going to be talking to you about some of the news of the day, giving you some of my analysis on the news from the perspective of the Constitution and what these things mean. So why don't we do this evening? Let's start hitting those like buttons. Let's get actively involved with this class. Let's start sharing it to all of our groups right now. So we're inviting you to grab your bean bag and find you a place in the classroom. And let's just get ready to do this tonight. Amen. So much to talk about. It's going to be a great class tonight. I try not to call what we do a show. To me, a show is entertainment. A class is educational. And it is always my desire strictly to educate you. So I want to say good evening to Miss Susan Cole, Miss Julie Palladino, Carrie Holsomback, Diana Howard, Charity Mills, Rose Secord, James Wright from Eastern Kentucky. Good evening to you. Lori H., you're finally live. I'm so glad you're here. James Lyle, God bless you for loving our classes. We thank you for that. Anna Marie Brock, good evening to you wherever you are. Chickens love me, loves Professor Toto, and Professor Toto loves you. Tricia Browning, Dean Calvin, Alice Lewis, Jamie Peachy. Jamie, thank you so much for your generous offering for those victims of Hurricane Ida. So far, we have raised right at $4,000 last night and today, and those funds most of them have been distributed. We've got a few dollars held back, waiting to see where we want to put those. But thank you from the bottom of my heart for the people that you have helped. We've already sent Cassandra money, Carolyn money, and many other people. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. God bless you. Sue Shipman from Pineville, Louisiana. You're going to be in church this weekend, Miss Shipman. I'm so excited to meet you. No, next weekend. One of those weekends, the 12th. That's next weekend. Remember, if you're watching, I preach live every Friday night in Waveland, Mississippi, right outside of New Orleans. You should come be in church with us, 6 o'clock, night after tomorrow. Come, and we always have a wonderful service. I know you'll be blessed for coming. And then Sunday night at 6 o'clock. Now, this weekend, I will be in Milton, Florida, September the 4th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon until 6 o'clock that evening. We will be there doing a wonderful rally called the Revival of the Republic with a bunch of patriots. You know you want to be there. You know you want to go. Well, the great news is don't let money hinder you because it's free of charge. You can come. No charge, thanks to the Patriots Buying Club for sponsoring these rallies. If you're not a member of the Patriots Buying Club, that's why we created BuyBuyWalmart.com. Thank you all that shopped with us last month. God bless you for your support. Come see me this Saturday. I want to see you, educate you, and enjoy meeting every one of you this coming Saturday. Toto's Retreat, September the 26th through the 29th. Let's go camping. Oh, we're going to have a good time. I plan to baptize, I think, about 300 people out in the lake there at Lake Gunnersville. It's going to be a fantabulous meeting. It'll be me and Pastor Greg Locke and Pastor Jerome, Pastor Sharam, and so many others. It's going to be fabulous. Sister Jen McDuffie and Brother McDuffie will be teaching. Miss Beverly Hagan and Mr. Bob, Gold and Silver Man. It's going to be so educational and yet so comfortable. You check in on the 26th at 1 o'clock at the lodge. And if you need more information about all of the itinerary and different things, go to right now to TOTOSARMYOFPatriots.com, and you'll see about halfway down on the home page, you right under the religious exemption letter, you'll see another one that says click here for the itinerary information. Click that and you'll get about 10 pages of information that Miss Sue and Monica Vanderberg put together for us. Speaking of our religious exemption letter, I get these every day. I got this one today. I'll read it to you real quick. Resubmitted my husband's religious exemption based on your class regarding more details on RE, and he got approval yesterday. Always trusting God. So that's another person that this ministry has helped maybe save their life. Who knows? So I thank God for this platform that we have. Thousands of people have been exempted from taking the jab because of our teachings on their right to a religious exemption. That's a great feeling in my heart. So God bless you, everyone that has used that letter. I'd like to show you the picture of the day. It's the most hypocritical picture I've seen in a while, but here it is. That is the hypocritical picture of the day. The lady in the middle there on the top row is the new governor of New York that replaced Cuomo, and they were taking a photo op with the beautiful children of America. And of course, you can see the hypocrisy. We're living in a strange world. That we are. So I've got some news things that we're going to talk about tonight, some things that are happening in the news. Everyone, please start sharing this, please. I'm banned on Facebook still, so I lose a lot of my audience over on Facebook. So would you go put the word out that Professor Toto is live with Toto tonight, right now. I want to bring your attention to some news articles, some great news, by the way. Texas, I am so proud of you, Texas. If I didn't love my church and love where I'm living, either Florida or Texas would be my next home. Texas has had an overhaul of their election system, making it easier to vote, but harder to cheat. I love that. I love that. Texas, you have done a bang up job on your new election laws. Very proud of you. And I'm even more proud of your law that just passed about abortion. The moment a heartbeat is detected, no more of our children will be murdered in the state of Texas. The moment a heartbeat is detected. Texas, you did yourself proud. We are all so proud of you. Texas, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Texas, for setting the example. You're driving Joe Biden absolutely batty and insane. You're driving Kamala up the camel. You are doing a wonderful job, Texas. God bless you in Texas. Lives will be changed. Children will be born now that would not have been born before this law passed. Texas, great job. So proud of you. And let's talk about their election laws. You know, everyone tells me, we cannot have another election until we fix 2020. Let me explain something to you. The major part of fixing them is fixing the laws that allowed these things to happen. And many states, Georgia has done it, Texas has done it, many other states, Arizona, they're all doing it the constitutional way, passing laws that makes cheating more difficult. So you know what? Congratulations to these states for what they are doing. They are part of this battle, and we thank them for what they have done in this battle. Good evening, Charity Mills. Good evening, Candace Kelly, Elizabeth Brody. God bless all of you for being in class tonight. I would like to show you real quick your daily dose of fear. Remember, there's a new ministry of fear in America. I'm going to go ahead and give you your daily dose of fear because we know by now that you cannot live without your daily dose of fear. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, we were talking about Lambda coming, the next one. That's old news. The one right behind it has already been named. It's called Mewe. And it's going to evade the vaccines. Wow. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? I keep hearing in my spirit, America, I will break your pride. And I keep hearing, why do you turn to Egypt with their horses and their chariots? Until you turn to the Lord your God, there is no help for society. These things are going to keep coming. So, I want to highly recommend, strongly recommend that you, ladies and gentlemen, get your immune systems up, get prepared in advance for what's coming. I am proud to say, and I thank Yahweh, that we had a sweep through our church, and so far we have lost no one. Most everyone has recuperated. We do have Miss Hope Sprouse in the hospital and Mr. Dennis Rodriguez in ICU. Those two, we are believing for their miracle. We ask you to believe with us. We had prayer meeting at our church tonight for the saints. So please keep them in your prayer. For the rest of you, don't buy into the fear. Get those immunity systems up. If you're not taking your supplements, your zinc and your vitamin D's and all of these, then we can't. Choices have consequences. Make the right choice. If you're part of the Patriots Buying Club, get those power packages of your supplements and your vitamins. Build these immunity systems up because they got Mewe. And after Mewe, they got another one starting to get ready for us. That way you can just live in constant fear so that you can look to them for constant advice of what do I need to do. See, I don't need to ask them what to do. I know what to do. Be prepared. Boy Scouts, remember that? Be prepared. That's all we have to do. Now, let's go look at some very good news that I'd like to show you right now. This is wonderful news that we can all rejoice about. An Ohio hospital has ordered the treatment of a COVID-19 patient with ivermectin, despite the FDA warning. An Ohio court ordered a hospital to treat the patient with this anti-parasitic drug despite warnings from the Food and Drug Administration. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a great victory, and we should all be rejoicing this evening because our voices are being heard. Common sense will prevail eventually, and we're seeing a great victory here. So that is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful news article. Now, tonight, there is a parade happening in Afghanistan. I'd like to show it to you. And this parade is a total mockery of the strength and the power of the United States of America. What you're looking at there, ladies and gentlemen, is your dollars. You know how you got up and went to work today, and at the end of when you get your paycheck, FICA and all of the money is held out, your money, you paid for those tanks and artillery that you're looking at in that picture. You paid for them, and Joe Biden went and gave them to our enemies. Gave them to our enemies. Look, they're parading in the streets. You see right there? They're parading in the streets tonight. They are showing off their booty, their victory. There they stand with our weapons in their hand, killing their own people. That's your bullets you paid for right there. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that just marvelous? There's one of your airplanes that you paid for and that Joe Biden gave away. Ladies and gentlemen, mark my words. This will be the undoing of the Biden administration. This is a travesty and it will be dealt with. I don't care what Mitch McConnell says. This must be dealt with. Had Donald Trump done this, we would never have heard the end of it. You know what I'm talking about, right? So that's where we are in the world that we live in. It's a crazy world, but nevertheless, it's the world we live in. I hope that every one of you are ready for tonight's monologue. I hope everyone's got your popcorn now and your bean bags and you're good and comfortable and you're ready to learn. Because tonight, I want to speak to you about a subject that I truly believe with all my heart is a word from the Lord for America and definitely for the patriots of America. I want to speak to you tonight on this topic: America, a forgotten garden. As a theologian, many people ask me theological questions. They want to know the unknown. And one of the questions I get a lot of times is, where is the Garden of Eden? What happened to the Garden of Eden? And if it really existed, then why can't we find it? Now, by the way, if you watch my class, it requires you to do more than just listen. You have to think. You have to be a deeper student than a lot of the other programs, because I don't just feed you the latest intel, but I try to pull the curtain back for you and show you what's really behind it all. And I do that going deeper than the cabal. You know, carnal-minded people, all they can see is the cabal behind everything. But when you're spiritual, you see the true puppet masters. And it's not men, but it's spiritual wickedness in high places. If you've not heard my teaching on fallen angels and the heavenly council, I encourage you on this channel, go find it. We did it last week. It's called the Heavenly Council. It's a Bible study you need to hear, because on this show, I refuse to entertain you. I want to educate you beyond the carnal understanding. And so everybody wants to know what happened to the Garden of Eden. Surely, if it was a real story, we could find it. Well, the truth is, brothers and sisters, we know the exact geographic location of the Garden of Eden. All you have to do is follow the Tigris River and the Euphrates River to their heads, and you find the Garden of Eden. We know where that garden was. But surely, if it was there, we should be able to dig and find it. We should be able to find some vestige of its memory, and we should be able to find it somewhere. I want to teach you tonight what happened to the Garden of Eden, and I want to parallel it to what's happening in the United States of America, because America is truly a forgotten garden. I want to explain it to you like this. The fight for freedom that you and I are fighting, and every one of you are freedom fighters. That's what Toto is. I am Toto. You are Toto. We're all Toto. We're all fighting for truth, which brings us freedom. So in the fight for freedom, it is really a war of attrition. Remember that. Write that in your notes. The fight for freedom is a war of attrition. Now, for those of you that need a better definition of what attrition is, I'll break it down to you like this. It's the act of a process of gradually reducing the strength or the effectiveness of something through sustained attack or pressure. I'm going to repeat it to you. Write it in your notes. Attrition is the process of deterioration with a continual pressure. Okay? The fight for freedom is actually a fight against attrition, or the continual pressure against the constant decay of something that we love. That something is called the United States of America. Left to its own devices, time always undoes the work of man. Left to its own devices, time and nature will always undo the work of man. And I'm saying all of that to bring you to a point tonight. The Garden of Eden suffered the same fate that America is suffering. It was forgotten. It was not cared for. It was not preserved. Remember when God cast Adam and Eve out of the garden, when he first put them in the garden, he told them to keep the garden up, to dress it, to care for it, to preserve it. That was their command. When they were kicked out of the garden, this beautiful garden all of a sudden has no one to care for it, no one to fight for it, no one to preserve it. And so 10 years goes by, and Cain and Abel walk by the Garden of Eden, and they look and they wonder what was so beautiful about it, because as they look over there, they can't go in because it's guarded. But all of a sudden, Mom and Dad told them about a garden that was so pristine and so perfect, with hedges that were perfectly gardened and kept. But yet when when Cain and Abel, they said, Mom and Daddy, is that the garden you're talking about? And they said, yes, but children, it's nothing like it was. And then 20 years later, Cain and Abel bring their grandchildren or their children to show them the garden, and they really can't find it anymore, but they can still see some key factors of what it used to look like. I hope you stay with me tonight. Let your spiritual ears come on. And then 100 years down the road, they bring their great-grandchildren to show them where Mom and Daddy comes from, and where Grandma Eve, where her old home place was. And they pull up to the old home place on their horse, and the kids are not impressed at all. Just like, remember when you went on vacation and your Mom and Daddy always wanted to stop by the old home place, and they wanted to show you the old home place, and they couldn't wait to show you. And they pull up to a place of wonderful memories. But when they pull up, when the car pulls up and they look at you, hoping that you'll be so excited about the old home place, they look at you and they see you looking around like this. There's an old car rusted out, an old house that has fallen to time and nature, because left to its own devices, time and nature always undoes the works of man. And so you tell the children all the wonderful memories, and you say this house used to be so beautiful, and yet you see the ceiling sagging. You see the shingles have rotted, but the memories in your mind are still there. 50 years later, your children bring their grandchildren to show them the old home place that you showed them, and they can't even find it anymore. They know that it was somewhere in this area, but they cannot find it. Why? Because left to its own devices, nature and time reclaims all the works of men. And this is what happened to the Garden of Eden. We cannot find it today because 6,000 years later, no one preserved its beauty. No one kept its uniqueness. No one cared that it was falling apart. No one cared that it would soon one day become a distant memory. America is a garden planted by Yahweh himself through the lost tribes of Israel as she built for his glory a place for the gospel to be preached to the nations of the world. America is a garden. And when America was established, her first gardeners, those founding fathers, they loved this garden so much that they placed stones around the garden to protect it. They placed hedgerows to protect this garden. Do you know what those stones were? Do you know what those hedgerows were? The Constitution of the United States. And do you know what the beautiful trim of this garden was? The individual freedom and the individual rights of every American. They wanted this garden to last for your children and your grandchildren. So they did what was necessary to protect this garden from being forgotten and from the protection of it being removed and the garden turning into a jungle. Remember this, it is human nature for all governments on earth to take power and turn into tyrants. That is nature. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the way of man. It's the way of governments. And our founding fathers knew this. They knew that society would get to a place in this beautiful garden called the experiment of America, individual liberty, that we would get to the point to where we would not take care of this garden. So they did it for us by enshrining this Constitution that drives Democrats insane, that drives liberals up the proverbial wall. This garden must be protected against attrition. You and I are the gardeners of America. God has called me and you to make sure that this beautiful garden is never lost to a tyrannical, out of control government. And I said all of that to bring you to this picture that I want to show you, and hopefully I can help it all make sense for you. This picture has stirred my soul this week, and that's why I'm preaching to you, America, a Forgotten Garden. This is from a Hungarian Jew from the documentary called The Last Days. He said, people wonder, how is it that we didn't do something? Why didn't you just run away and hide? Well, things didn't happen all at once. Things happened very slowly. So each time a new law came out or a new restriction, we said, well, not that big of a deal. It's just another thing, it'll blow over. But when we had to wear the yellow star to be outside, we started to worry. Little by little, attrition is what we're fighting. If you're a freedom fighter, you're fighting against attrition. The continual pressure to just go with the flow and let this garden of principles, this garden of American ideas, just let it go. But ladies and gentlemen, do you know God's favorite job is a gardener? Adam was a gardener. You are being called to the Garden of America to pull out the weeds of liberalism, to pull out the disease of democracy, and to restore the walls of the republic, and to rebuild the hedges of holiness, and to place within this nation the hedgerows of the law of God, the rule of law, and the rule of this great republic against nature. What do I mean by nature? Nature is trying to take over this garden. What kind of nature? Human nature. A human nature that hates law and order. A human nature that hates a pesky constitution that gets in their way. Let's just remove the order and let's just do it the way we feel like is best. But yet this garden is preserved only when the law of this land is preserved. Tyrannical government is like the weeds of a garden. It comes up a little law here, a little law there, here a law, there a law, here a mandate, there a mandate, everywhere a mandate. And if you just feel the pressure not to say anything, before you know it, you'll wake up and this garden will be gone. And whose fault will it be? I ask you, whose fault will it be? It won't be mine. No. Because I'm lifting my voice. I'm making my phone calls. I'm doing everything humanly possible to be a gardener in this garden called America, to preserve it from the weeds of the wicked, to preserve it from the lies of the left. And I want to show you an example of what happens when a garden is forgotten. There was a very wealthy man in 1930. He went to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And he went out there in the Smoky Mountain National Park. And he invested so much money. He built the most beautiful place there. So many buildings were there. It was a beautiful, beautiful place. It was home. He was so proud of it. I encourage you, when you go back to Gatlinburg, go try to find it if you can. At one time, everyone knew where it was. Back in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, everyone talked about this beautiful place. But the old man died, and no one cared for what he left behind. And now, to find this place, you have to take a hike through the woods, and you'll find his mansion, and there it is. Left to its own devices, nature and time always undo the work of man. It's now called the Ferry House in the Smoky Mountains. It's a landmark, lost in time. But do you know why it was lost? No one cared. It was a forgotten garden. And as we quit working, nature never does. It's the same thing in your personal life if you're watching me. When you quit working on your walk with God, your demons take back over. Nature, the natural man. When you're no longer in prayer, working on your garden, when you're no longer studying the Word, working on your garden, you'll look back and your addictions will come creeping back into your mind. It'll come, your perversions will come back. Everything, nature begins to reach its tentacles around everything that's not breaking free from those tentacles. As you forget to work the garden of God, as you forget to work in the garden of your life, life will take back over your mind. You'll become the animal that you once were. You've got to work every day. The Bible said, work while it's day, for night is coming when no man can work. Little by little, we lose our freedoms. A little mask, a little needle, A little here, no big deal. It's just a jab. It's just a mask. It's just a garden. And these are weeds in my freedom garden. What about your freedom garden? It was given to you by your forefathers as an inheritance. When you became a natural born citizen of this nation, you were given a birthright to freedom. And if you don't work for that freedom every day, it will be taken from you. And you can't blame nobody but yourself. You must remember, here a little and there a little. The enemy works the same way God works. God gives us truth, here a little and there a little. And the enemy comes in to take it back, here a little and there a little. It never happens overnight. The moment you quit praying is the moment you start taking the fences down on your garden. If you've not heard my sermon, Build That Wall, go listen to it. It's on this YouTube channel. Go listen to it. Make yourself listen to that message. Build your walls. Because the moment you let them get a breach in them, nature's on its way in. Watch this picture. Look at it again. Look at the fairy house in the Smoky Mountains. At one time that door led to a beautiful mansion. That's a picture of your life. The moment you forget to work the garden. That is a picture of America. That nation, that city on a hill is being overtaken by the hill. Why? Because we give things up little by little. I want to tell you how it happens, and then I'm going to leave you for tonight. Not going to keep you much longer. But I want to explain to you how these things happen. I believe in individual liberty for all in America. So long as it doesn't harm my neighbor, leave me alone. Now, Professor Toto is probably one of the last people you'll ever meet that believes that the seatbelt law is unconstitutional. Now, I want to explain to you what I mean by that. I get angry every time I have to put my seatbelt on. I'm going to admit that to everyone watching. Now, what's so funny is some of you are going to judge me for saying that, and yet you don't want nobody else judging you for not wanting to put a mask on, so don't be a hypocrite, okay? Check yourself. Do a checkup from the neck up real quick. Now, the reason I'm doing that, because I'm fixing to show you something. I'm going to show you how we're losing our rights to choose for ourselves. Now, is wearing a seatbelt a good idea? Absolutely. Should everybody wear seatbelts? Absolutely. Should I be forced to do it? Absolutely not. And you know, before you think Professor Toto is strange, you better be careful, because I'm fixing to educate you. Oh yeah, I'm going to educate you right now, because I can hear some of you right now already judging me. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to take you back to 1973. I want to take you to a man by the name of David Hollister. David Hollister was the first person in America, in the state of Michigan, to introduce a seatbelt law. When David Hollister introduced the seatbelt law, do you know what the patriots of this nation did? They lost their minds. Now you got to stay with me, because I'm fixing to prove you something. Do you know the patriots of this nation began to compare David Hollister to Adolf Hitler? Did you know that? Did you know that David Hollister couldn't even go back to his home because the patriots rose up that you were taking their freedom away from them? Oh yeah. But see, they're smart. They know if they keep the pressure up long enough, we give up the fight. So, in 1968, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, a federal government entity, said that you're going to have to start wearing seatbelts. In the 1980s, America hated that law. We despised it because we have the right to die if we want to be that stupid. That's our right to do it. That's what we said. Yeah, that's what we said. Now, here's what I want to explain to you. For those of you that think I'm crazy right now, I'd like to tell you how Ronald Wilson Reagan won his election. You ready? I'm going to read you a direct quote. Ronald Wilson Reagan promised when he was running for office to deregulate the seatbelt law and the automotive industry. And the first thing the Reagan administration did was to rescind the rule requiring seatbelts. Did y'all know that? Do you remember any of that? Yeah. But the Democrats, they thought that we needed to wear seatbelts. Well, you know what? You may be right, but you're violating a key principle in this nation, my right to choose for myself. Now, me wearing or not wearing a seatbelt don't hurt nobody else. Do you understand? Me wearing or not wearing a mask has not been proven to hurt anybody else or help anybody else. It's actually been proven to hurt me. We are losing. I said that about the seatbelts to let you know how we lose this garden. At first we fought against it. Then we succumbed to it. Same thing's happening all over again. History repeating itself. Many patriots began fighting this thing at the beginning. But now they're feeling the pressure from friends and family and getting a little tired of the battle. So what happens to the garden? The garden of freedom. What happens to it now? More weeds. More weeds. More weeds. A law here, a law there. More weeds. America is a forgotten garden. But I believe Toto's army and all of the patriots of this nation need to get back to the garden. And we need to fight like you know what, to not lose these rights. Do you know that they proved it was unconstitutional to require a motorcycle helmet? Now, should someone wear a motorcycle helmet? Absolutely. But what if they don't want to? What government on earth has the right to demand them to do it? I ask that of you. This garden of freedom was built to protect you from the weeds of tyrannical government. Here a little, there a little. I don't know why, and I don't even know if any of you are really hearing me tonight, but I felt in my spirit to warn America, you're becoming a forgotten garden of freedom. You're the last garden of freedom on earth. The weeds are popping up. They're everywhere. You don't believe they're everywhere? Look. The weeds are popping up in our garden. Does anybody care? I know you care, or you wouldn't be watching me right now. So I want to encourage you. Get the fight back in you. Come on. Get the fight back in you. Put your gloves on and get in this garden and prune out these weeds of illegal laws. Illegal mandates. We pruned them out in Louisiana where they said we couldn't have church. That was a weed. Dig the weeds out of this garden. Dig the weeds. Come on, let's dig that weed out. Look, dig it out. Take your children out of that school. Dig that garden out and you tell your child they'll never be forced to do anything in this nation that violates their principles. My God, I ask you tonight, Preserve this nation. Preserve this Garden of America. Amen. Thank you, Father. I pray that you have received something tonight from this lesson. I try so desperately to bring you content, to bring you the meat of our history and the depths of our future. I try desperately not to be another howling voice with empty promises, and not to feed your carnal mind, but to make you see the truth behind the truth, to see the depths of what's happening in America. The weeds are growing, but I promise you, we got some gardeners going to get them out. We're going to win the House back in a few days. Oh yeah, we're fixing to sweep the House where we can take control and start having these hearings, impeachment hearings, whatever we got to do. We're going to take back the Senate. We're going to take back the White House. And we're going to get some of these weeds out of the Garden of America. God bless you tonight. We love every one of you. Thank you for your offerings to our church, your tithe, your donations. Thank you for your gifts that you send us. Every one of you are loved more than you know. Keep us in prayer that we'll stay strong in this battle, and together we will de-weed this great garden. God bless you, and good night.